Welcome to Rallen's Rant.
Jules Mac, who is the co-owner of Mac at D6 in Ranelagh, which focuses on a Hong Kong style dim sum and authentic Chinese cuisine. Along with the vast array of wine, cocktails, craft beers, Mac is also involved with Wanderlust, which is located in Dalkey and serves as a vast mix of cuisine with Mexican food, Italian, American and Asian. Jules also was a past pupil of St. Michael's College and graduated in 2006. So to get things kicked off, how are things with you today, Jules?
All good. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Nailed the intro.
Yeah. And to start it all off, what would you say are your earliest memories of being a pupil of St. Michael's?
Well, I go way back now. I started in junior infants, so a true blue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose just growing up, rugby, obviously, massive thing in the school from a young age, Not that I was any star athlete or anything, but everything always seems to focus around that if you're not the most academic, I suppose. But yeah, growing up, just the group of lads, about 5 or 6 lads, which was in junior infants with me, would be probably my best mates now, so
cool, yeah.
Definitely something that would stand out, like long friendships through the lads,
Super, yeah. And then going through St. Michael's last few years, what basically, were you an academic type student? Were you a bit of a messer?
No, well, not a messer as such, but far from an academic, to be honest,
Yeah.
Just could never get the head down and just apply myself fully, It was very hard for me to get involved and interested in something that I wasn't interested in, I suppose, So the book side thing was never for me. So subjects that were appealing to me was art, was always quite creative and stuff, so found that a bit more interesting. But yeah, as I said, the academic side of stuff just wasn't for me,
Okay. And obviously you have the big summer quiz at the end of 6th year known as the Leaving Cert. Once that obviously is out of it's in the back of your mind and you get it done, did you do the typical path, go straight into college, or where did you go at a first year?
Yeah, well, as I said, not the most academic, so,
yeah.
I followed the same kind of similar path as most people, you aim for, I suppose, society says, get into commerce, get into business, whatever it is, but, I knew that was way out of my reach, so foolishly, I think I put down arts on my CO as my first choice, and no idea what even arts is about,
Yeah.
And probably most people don't either, I know people who did it, and you ask them, what did you do? And they're like, I don't really know, So, yeah, kind of just follow that path, I suppose, just what everyone else kind of expects out of you to do, but knew was never really for me, So, did the Leaving Cert, didn't do great, had arts down, I think. Obviously, that didn't come true. And then kind of faded down to, I was going to have to go to private college.
Yeah.
And again, something which just didn't appeal to me, but I remember getting kind of accepted into one of the private colleges and the fees coming in and about 5,000 for the year. And again, knowing geez, I just can't do this. I'm not that guy, And I remember my dad saying to me here, it was a business course, thinking DBS or something, but
yeah.
My dad saying here, do you actually want to do this? We'll pay for you if you want, but,
yeah.
Don't waste our money. And I just turned around and said, here, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to. It'll be a waste of your money, basically.
Yeah.
I'll say I'll do it. I'll probably drop out in a year, and there goes $5,000 gone. So anyway, he kind of accepted that and was always interested in the restaurant side. Worked in his restaurant. My dad had a restaurant in Donnybrook, Farama there for about 25, 26 years. So, growing up at age 16, 17, doing a bit of part-time work there, being a kitchen porter, washing dishes, chopping veg, working by the bar, whatever. So, yeah, always knew that was kind of where I wanted to go, and I've always had a bit of an interest in it, it never seemed like work to me, so yeah, got on to Calbrula Street, DIT there, and enrolled myself in culinary arts. And again, thought that was it, thought that was what I wanted to do. And, you know, got in there and, you know, they're kind of teaching you how to poach an egg and stuff. And I was just like, oh, it's a bit slow paced for me, you know. And I always wanted to work, you know. I was extremely driven by like money and stuff, you know. I wanted to make money. I hated wasting my time in college. I just found it like, you know, I could be working now, you know. So anyway, long story short, dropped out of there after about 4 months of doing culinary arts, and just said to Dad, here, can I just work in the restaurant? You know, I'm keen and I want to learn more. So yeah, he took me on there and worked there for about a year and a half, and that was kind of where I went. So never experienced the college life, you know. Was there, I said, 4 months, but dipping in and out really, you know, was never for me. Found it hard in a classroom, and, you know, being told what to do and study and stuff, you know, it just wasn't for me.
But the thing that kind of sticks out there is that most people tend to just, you know, slug through college and just get it done with. So it is quite a noble thing to actually just admit that it's not for you, because I know even some of my friends and some other people in the years below and above that just basically go 3, 4, 5 years in college, you know, get a decent degree out of it, or even just get through it. Yeah. So it is quite an interesting thing to hear that, you know, you basically accepted from an early age that, listen, it's not for you. Yeah. I'm going to try and make it elsewhere, and just be, as you said, proactive with your time rather than going through the motion. So I think that is actually quite a noble thing to admit, because when you're 18, 19, 20, it is easy to say, oh yeah, no, it'll all work out. But
no, it is. It's tough. Like, and it's the, you know, it's the system in the schools, I suppose, which, you know, I find it all focuses on, you know, to become a lawyer, to become an accountant, to become a doctor. You know, it's, you know, who in school at the age of 14, 15 says, you know, I want to open a bar, I want to open a restaurant. You know, very few, you know. So I think school system tells you to kind of pushes you in that direction, you know. Finish school, go to college, do either commerce or whatever, you know. And I don't want to say it's a waste of time at all, you know. It's far from it, you know. But listening to Peter Burke on the podcast, you know, interesting story there. You know, did the college thing, was a great student, ended up working in PwC, it was, you know, and, you know, I suppose had the balls to kind of say, right, this isn't for me, you know. So, and again, I don't want to say it's a waste of time what he did, you know, but look at him now, he's a successful gym owner, you know, and I'm sure some of his work and college stuff, you know, kind of played into his career now, but, you know, he could have been miles ahead if you didn't do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just how I've always thought of it, you know. Obviously not being an academic at all, it's, you know, you kind of look at it a bit differently.
Yeah, true. And you were saying that you were working in your dad's restaurant, and obviously that's where you basically got the passion for food and all that stuff that came with it. But at what point did you kind of step away from that and go, you know, I want to try and create my own type of restaurant or be my own chef? Or did you go to somewhere abroad, or did you go to a course or whatnot?
No, well, it was interesting. So I finished school 18, went into that college for, you know, 4 months, whatever it was, and started working in his restaurant. And then I did that for about a year and a half, you know. And you're kind of, you know, all the lads they're in college, they're on their nights out, you know. My Friday, Saturday nights were booked up every weekend, you know, with work. So you're on a completely different schedule to the lads. So after about a year and a half, 2 years, it kind of got a bit to me, you know. Felt I was missing out on things, and I wasn't, you know, I was just working all the time, you know. And so I actually gave up the chefing for a while, and I went into a 9-to-5 job. Okay. So I ditched the chefing and went into the buy and sell. They were a newspaper back in the day. I think they're gone now, but I was basically a sales rep, selling ad space. And I was like, you know, I was like, right, maybe this is the career I want, you know, maybe the nights aren't for me. And anyway, I did that for a year and just found it, you know, I found it hideous. Like, it was such a tough grind of, you know, getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning and going into work, and the same routine of getting your coffee, sitting at your desk. And I just found it so boring, you know. The thought of having, you know, finishing at 5 and getting up the next day and day in, day out the exact same, you know, just I found that really tough. So slugged that out for about a year, and I remember I was just like, right, I've done it now, it's just not for me, you know. So went back into the chefing. I wanted to kind of learn a bit more and go down different routes, so worked in a few other restaurants, and you know, I wanted to step away from my dad's restaurant, you know.
Yeah.
So worked in, he actually got me a job in Rallen. So I worked there for, you know, a few weeks. It was just a bit of training kind of thing. My dad knew your man who owned it, so he kind of brought me in for a few weeks. And then worked in Roast, another restaurant in Ballsbridge at the time. So started off there, and, you know, it was a bit of a wake-up call. You know, you're going from working in your dad's restaurant, which, you know, different environment to when you're out on your own. So, you know, you're doing 12-hour days, like 5-6 days a week sometimes. So, you know, you're talking like a 60, nearly 70-hour week. So, but loved it, you know, loved kind of every minute of it, and kind of knew then, like, right, this is what I want to do. So, you know, worked there for a good, probably about 6-7 months. And then I was like, you know, this is getting, you know, I kind of want to do this myself now. So I went back to my dad's then, you know, I was a bit older, a bit more mature, and felt, you know, I might be of some more value now than what I was. You know, I might be able to add to the actual business side. So went back, started doing a few different things, and, you know, we did a takeaway service out of the restaurant, and that really kicked off, and it was great, you know. So yeah, just worked at that for a while, and kind of realised, right, this is what I want to do now, and gave it all then at that stage, you know.
Yeah. And as you were saying there, was there at any stage where you maybe had to go to one of these courses, or was it all just practical, getting your experience by actually doing it, rather than having to go through some of these tedious courses that some people point out to? So was it pretty much all learning from other restaurants?
Yeah, just getting in and doing it, you know. Now, growing up, loved cooking, like, you know, my whole life. Like, since I was a kid, probably, you know, 8, 9, I was always asking mum to get stuff in to cook and stuff, you know. So, you know, always did love it, you know, always read up my own, you know, kind of bought my own cookbooks, created my own ideas, and watched a load of cooking shows, whatever. So my approach was just get in and do it, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't really need someone to kind of tell me, you know, as long, you know, in a school environment, you know, like a college or anything, of course. It was more just get in and just work at it, you know, and be trained in that way. So that was the approach I took, and again, think it worked out all right. So
okay. And from there on, you've got your experience behind you. You've got probably the newfound passion again for food. And basically, what made you want to open up your own place with, say, Mac at D6 and Ranelagh? Like, how did that come about?
Well, it was always... so my dad had the restaurant, and so he used to take us when we were kids to these other Chinese restaurants, you know, these dim sum restaurants, kind of, you know, in the arsehole nowhere, basically. You know, they'd be down in Parnell Street, and we used to always get dim sum down there, which is kind of like an Asian style tapas would be the best way to describe it. And, you know, I used to love it. Like, I was like, Dad, why are you bringing us out here? We have our own Chinese restaurant, you know. And he said, no, this is just what the Chinese people eat, you know. The Irish people wouldn't get it and all this stuff. So anyway, growing up eating it, and I went over to, I was on holidays, I was 22, 23. I was over visiting a friend in LA, and he was like, man, you need to check out this restaurant. So he brought me to this dim sum restaurant, and real funky and cool, you know, a load of young people there, and no Chinese people, you know, and it was all just dim sum, cocktails, you know. So I remember coming back after that holiday, and I was like, Dad, like, here, we need to, like, do dim sum here, like, you know, we're missing something. And obviously he was, you know, he's a lot older, and he's kind of stuck in his own ways with certain things, and, you know, his restaurant was doing great at the time, so he was like, why need to change, you know, no need for me to change this. So anyway, I kind of just stood up and said, right, well, I'm going to try to do this on my own then, you know. So again, was only 23 when I came back from the holiday, so about 24 I kind of realised, right, I'm actually going to give it a shot now. So did a bit of research on it, looked up a few restaurants, kind of went out of my own way, hired a designer on my own, and we did up a bit of a design. I did up a menu plan, did a bit of branding and stuff. So, because I needed a bit of financial support, you know, there was no way at 24 I was going to be able to open a restaurant on my own. It just wasn't possible. So I had to try, like, impress my dad and try get him a bit on board with it. So yeah, did a bit of research on it, paid a few quid, got a few drawings done up, you know, just something to show that, like, right, I'm getting there, you know. So approached himself and my brother who's my partner in the business now. He was in a 9-to-5 job at the time, and, you know, went to him and said, here, Rick, like, you know, I want to open this restaurant, but I think I need your help with me. I don't think I'll be able to do it on my own. So showed him the plans, and kind of got him on board a little bit, you know. again, not much. He kind of just washed it off slightly, but he was listening anyway, you know. So then went to Dad and told him the plan, told him the idea, and yeah, I was pretty shocked. He loved it. Like, you know, he said, I think that's great, but you know, he said, like, I've no money to give you though, basically, you know. So I'm going, oh shit, like. So anyway, being persistent with it, saying, Dad, we need to try secure a bit of money here. You know, this is going to be great. So anyway, long story short, got a few quid off him, not much now, and we had to go to the bank. So bank supported the business plan, supported the idea, loved it, thought it'd work. Had a unit lined up in Ranelagh, and yeah.
And looking at Ranelagh now, you look outside of town, like Ranelagh's probably the hot spot for a lot of eateries and a lot of restaurants. So at that time, was it still one of the most popular places for restaurants, or was it just kind of on the up, or was it kind of halfway, or was it the place to be?
Ranelagh was always a bit of a foodie spot, you know. It always had a load of restaurants and bars. So I was 24 when I signed the lease for the place, so we were kind of at the tail end of the recession, I suppose, you know, and being 24, you don't really think of that stuff, you know. Again, I'm a simple-minded man. I just believe that, you know, if I'm given a good product and a good service, people will buy it, you know. So yeah, didn't think, you know, I knew there was a lot of restaurants around. I always believe, you know, with restaurants, they get accompanied by pubs, bars, you know. I think both need each other, you know. The more restaurants, the more pubs in a certain location, I think the better for everyone. So was always drawn to Ranelagh. The fact that it's so close to town as well was so appealing, you know. Everyone's nights out are in town, so it was easy for them to get a 5-minute taxi in. So, but no, started off our first year in Ranelagh, as I said, tail end of the recession. So, you know, people were still looking for value, you know. They were still looking for their early birds, you know. I remember that Christmas time, people were ringing and saying, right, there's 30 of us, you know, what deal can you do for us, you know? Whereas now it's kind of changing a bit, you know. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's back to the olden days, but it's definitely moving up, like, you know. So was it maybe a slow burner at the start? Yeah.
Did you have to be patient?
You did. You think, I remember our first year, and you know, we were pretty busy, you know. The restaurant was busy our first year, but you know, my lack of experience, I suppose, you know, I just went into this kind of blind. I found it pretty tough. I didn't know how to manage the money very well, you know. We're kind of just, everything we're taking in, we're just spending. Wages were crazy and just couldn't manage the money side too well. So definitely was a slow burn. Looking back now, yeah, it seems like it was quiet. You know, we're nearly 5 years open now, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's running itself, because it never will, I don't think, you know, but it's definitely a lot easier. You know, we've kind of nailed the finance side down in terms of, you know, we're kind of managing the money side better, and, you know, we're a bit more experienced in the area. So, you know, it's getting a bit easier, I suppose, like.
Okay. And with you being obviously heavily involved, like being a chef, like what role did you play, say, in the menu? Because ultimately the biggest part of a restaurant is the menu and how the food tastes. So when you're setting up the brand, getting the designers, all that stuff, how did you come about creating a menu that you thought, this is going to sell, this is going to taste great? So, like, did you get outside help, or did you just basically back yourself?
Did it all myself. I said, had my dad's restaurant there as a bit of a base, you know.
Yeah.
Now, he actually closed his restaurant probably about 5-6 months after we opened Mac, and he'd retired, and he moved back home to Hong Kong. So he's been back there now for the last 4 or 5 years. So, but yeah, back to the menu. Did it myself. You know, tailored a few of the favourites from his restaurant and brought them over, and, you know, just reinventing new dishes yourself, you know. It's a bit of a process, you know. You started off with a basic enough menu, and then, you know, we've changed it probably about 5 or 6 times since we've opened, you know, just new dishes here and there, and, you know, but yeah, all, you get the chefs who are with you as well, you know. It's, you have team meetings with the guys, and you get everyone's input on it and stuff, because it's not just about thinking of a dish and cooking it and it being perfect. There's quite a lot to it, you know. The price has to be right on it, you know. You can't just buy in the most expensive cuts of meat and charge 40 quid for it, you know. There's a lot to it. You got to think of the storage of it, you know. How long is this going to stay fresh for as well, you know. The price, you know, how easily can it be cooked, you know. There's no point cooking a big roast beef, you know, if it's going to take 45 minutes, you know. So a few different things to each dish, like which, you know, yeah, it does quite a tedious job, you know, doing a menu. I said quite a lot to it, so.
Okay. And you touched on it briefly there. Is there any type of food or, you know, meat or, I don't know, rice or whatever, that is just an absolute nightmare, say at the beginning of a restaurant where you don't know how many sales you're going to be making on a weekly basis? But basically, is there any kind of temperamental food that people might not be aware of that is just basically hell on earth to have in your restaurant as an option?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there would be a few, you know, like, it depends kind of how busy you are. Now, we're lucky that in the both restaurants there, you know, they are busy enough that we don't really have that issue as much, you know. But in Mac, it's a bit different, you know, where everything's kind of stir-fried in the wok, majority of the dishes, you know. So it's your chicken, your beef, your prawns. So it's used in about 4 or 5 different dishes, you know. So waste is never really an issue in Mac. Wanderlust, you know, we do things like a duck breast. We have a lot of seafood dishes and stuff. And yeah, you can find midweek, like, you know, the seafood has to be fresh. You know, people can spot that a mile away. If you're serving them a frozen piece of fish or something a few days old, they're going to notice, you know. So I'd say with seafood, and it's just down to kind of managing your kitchen, you know, hiring the right staff to look after it and making sure they're, you know, ordering is on point. Like, because, you know, seafood, you don't really get much leeway with that, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, people who don't know anything about food would realise if it's crap bit of meat, you know. So yeah, definitely seafood, I'd say, be tough.
And how would you go about, like, say when I had Tom Gleeson on this, I said, how would you go about quality control? And I'd say with yourself, it'd be much more difficult because he has to worry about just pretty much a burger and fries.
Yeah.
Where with you, there's several different dishes, cooked different ways. But like over, say, as you said, you've been open now for 4 or 5 years. How would you go about making sure that it is the perfect quality or up to the standards you set every time it goes out in a plate?
Just about, again, drilling it into the staff, getting the right staff, stemming from kind of training, I suppose, you know, showing the guys what to order. And, you know, for example, now I said Mac now, it's a bit more established, so, you know, they kind of know. I'm so lucky with the chefs there. They've been with me for 4 years, so, you know, they really know the buzz and what to order each week. So, but yeah, it's just, I say, yeah, Tom's one is, I don't want to say it's easy now, but you know, it's burgers, you know. So definitely a lot easier for him to control it than it would me, I'd say. But yeah, it's just experience, I suppose, as well. You know, it wasn't always like that in the first few months in any restaurant. There's probably going to be a waste. You know, you always have to overstock. You're only open a few months. You don't want to be running out of stuff, you know. So yeah, just experience and time will tell. Like, you know, you kind of get into that set pattern of what you need to order and stuff. So
okay, interesting enough. No, I always wonder myself though how, like, a place that I keep going back to, it just tastes the same every single time. So you always wonder about those things. And you touched on it there a few minutes ago, Wanderlust, which is your newish restaurant compared to the old one, Mac. How basically did that idea come about?
Well, we were looking out, so we were on the hunt for a second restaurant, and, you know, was kind of looking in town. I had a few different ideas, a few different concepts, and I always believe, like, you know, it depends on the location, you know. Like a Mac works in Ranelagh, but it might not work in Dalkey, you know.
Yeah.
Wanderlust might not work in Ranelagh, might not work in town, you know. So you kind of just have to do a bit of research on the location. You know, went out to Dalkey, and I remember my friend who lived up there brought me out for dinner one night, and it was a Monday night. We went into a restaurant and just looked for a table of 2, and they said they're booked out. And I was like, what's going on here? Monday night booked out, you know. So did a bit of research on the place, and saw that there was a unit up for grabs. And again, we were kind of keen on the area, you know, good few restaurants there, similar to Ranelagh, not as buzzy, I suppose, because you're not near town, you know, but definitely similar in terms of a lot of restaurants, a lot of pubs. So just kind of looked out there, and there was a Chinese out there already, so I wasn't too keen on the Mac idea. The unit we were looking at is quite small. It's a 45-seater restaurant compared to Mac, which is a 95-seater restaurant. So I knew that I needed to kind of capitalise on the opening hours as much as possible. You know, Mac, we only open for evenings, dinner. You know, we have a busy takeaway trade, but it's a nighttime place. You know, people come in for bites and cocktails, and they'll have their nights out there. You know, big groups of parties. So I didn't think that would work there. You know, you're not close to town, so you're probably not going to get as many big groups, you know, on their nights out. I said it was a small place. Chinese food's not really the most appetizing for a lunch. You know, it's not really brunch style food, I suppose. No. So, you know, I thought, I want to do something different here. I need to capitalise on the unit, I suppose. You know, I don't want to be closed much, so we decided to go down the route of Wanderlust, which is tacos, nachos, wings. You know, on the weekend we do brunch. You know, a lot of seafood dishes. You know, coming into the summer now, getting more seafood on the menu and stuff. So, yeah, again, just looking at the area. You know, the size of the unit, what everyone's doing out there. You know, there was no one really doing tacos, nachos, wings, you know, a brunch like out there. So thought we could capitalise on that, and yeah, so far so good.
Nice. And with, say, opening a new place, say like Wanderlust, so like you were saying there, summer's coming up, so you're going to try and add more fish to the restaurant or bring in, I don't know, breakfast, brunch, whatever. Like, is there a certain element where as the months go by or the weeks go by that you basically need to be aware of the trends of what people are doing, how people are eating? Like, is there much research done for you to be able to say, okay, listen, most people are doing this on that time of day or eating this type of food? Or is it very much you just back your product and just hope that it will always sell?
Yeah, I'd love for there to be a big fancy answer, but yeah, you just back your product, you know. Something I've always done, you know. I think always backed myself in the food side of things, you know. I've always believed in both restaurants that we're serving a top quality product. Yeah, but going with the, you know, as I said, coming into summer now, the dishes need to be a bit lighter. You know, people aren't looking for heavy kind of big cuts of meat and stuff as much. They're looking for their salads, their seafood, light bites, you know, cocktails and stuff. So yeah, that's the route you go down. But yeah, I always back what we do. You know, you always have to have, you know, people always give you their opinion. You know, what they think you should have on your menu and stuff. And at the end of the day, you need to go by what you think yourself. You know, and I've always done that. I've always kind of made my own decisions on what to do, and you know, it's how we do it. So
okay. And one other point I would like to basically ask is, what would be, so you're obviously heavily involved in cooking the food, stuff like that. So like, what would be the biggest day-to-day challenge or weekly basis challenge that would face, say, a chef like yourself? Would it be the cooking part? Would it be the organisational part?
Yeah, it would just be the overall. I always find, so it's a very nighttime industry, you know.
Yeah.
Both restaurants kind of, we get set up around 4 o'clock, you know, someone has to be in there. So biggest challenges, yeah, I suppose you get up, like I'd always wake up bombarded with emails. You know, there's the 2 restaurants now, and I suppose there's a load of WhatsApp groups between management and chefs and the accounts, and you know, so you wake up with messages of a big to-do list basically. You know, suppliers need to be paid this day, or a menu need to be created for this party. You know, so I find that side stressful. You know, I find when I'm in work, come 4:30, when I go in there, I'm kind of at peace. Like, you know, when I'm working and when I'm in the kitchen cooking, and you know, no matter how busy it is, like I'm always at peace in there. You know, it's when you're out, and that's when all the stress kind of comes about, I find, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's it. Day-to-day challenges would be, yeah, just getting up, organising the kitchen, organising the stock. You know, someone has to do it, and there's such a high turnover with chefs now. You know, I said I'm lucky with Mac. The guys have been there a long time, but in Wanderlust, you know, we've been open just over a year, and been quite a few chefs coming and going, and floor staff coming and going. So, just finding that consistency in there, you know. So I'm quite heavily involved in there at the moment in terms of, you know, even the ordering now still, you know. So,
and with obviously making sure all that, the management side of things, the food side of things are all in check. Like, would there be much time off for your job? But like, because restaurants aren't a type of thing that, you know, they're not like, say, for instance, a school that's open, you know, 8-9 months a year and then has time off. Like, restaurants got to be going. So are you on it pretty much the entire year?
No,
or do you get much?
We close 2 days a year, Christmas Day and Good Friday. They're the only 2 days we close. So yeah, no, it is always full on. You know, the only time, like, there is no day off. Like, if I take an evening off, let's say, you know, you're still up to your eyes that day doing work, you know. So to get a full day off it just doesn't happen, to be honest, you know. You have to actually leave the country, go on a holiday to get a day off, pretty much, you know. So.
And would you ever, like, an educational holiday pop up where you think, right, obviously there's only so much I can gather from my own restaurant, my own country, which obviously the two are based in Ireland. Would you ever think, you know, listen, I'm going to go off for a month, go to America, visit all the best type of, you know, competitive restaurants that are in our...
Yeah, well, I was looking to do that maybe next year. Go to, I said, my dad's over in Hong Kong, so maybe trek over to that neck of the woods. And now, I don't know if I'll be able to get a month off doing it, but even if it's a week or two just to do a bit of research, yeah, definitely something I'd like to get into then, you know, one day, just trip over, maybe do... I'd like to focus more on the Asian side of stuff now for the next restaurant anyway. Going to look to stick to the Asian dim sum route, you know, and progress that way, I think.
And, like, is that the goal? So, like, you've opened up, you've been a part of 2 restaurants now, and 2 quite diverse restaurants.
Yeah.
And so, like, are you going to strictly, with your goals, kind of go, right, I want to try open another restaurant that's similar to Mac? Or are you kind of an open book where it's like...
Yeah,
listen,
it would be an open book. You know, I always think you have to set certain goals, you know, like... Wanderlust still relatively new, and I said I'm extremely hands-on there at the moment, but although I'm so busy with that place and Mac, you know, any day you have semi-free, you know, I'm out looking up something else or looking up another unit or going to view another site to see if another opportunity can pop up. So again, Asian is the route I want to go down for the next place, I think, you know, somewhere maybe in town, close to town. So yeah, I think, as I said though, you know, back to what I touched on earlier, the location's so important, you know, so it would be hard for me here to sit here and say, right, I'm definitely going to do an Asian in the next restaurant. Yeah. When another unit might pop up and I might look at it and be like, geez, I think a little cafe would be great here, you know. So, but definitely looking to focus on the Asian side thing for the next place.
Okay, and like, just to kind of touch back on it, so was, say, Ranelagh and Dalkey the first choices you had for these restaurants, or did you have multiple choice and have to do multiple researches on different properties, or did it just pretty much be right place, right time?
A bit of right place, right time. Ranelagh was very much, you know, was always really keen on Ranelagh. We were lucky at the time, as I said before, kind of tail end recession, so there wasn't, you know, since I've moved in now into Ranelagh, there's probably been about 6-7 other restaurants moved in now as well. Tom Bunson's actually opening up in the next couple of days down the road,
I saw the sign today actually.
Yeah, so Ranelagh definitely was. Dalkey popped up, you know, kind of was out there a few times looking at it and kind of on the hunt for a restaurant, and, you know, again, just researching, looking up units, and stumbled across one out there, and then I did my research, and there we go, we're in. So,
and I'm just thinking here, so would you see yourself as a long-term type kind of chef / owner, or would you ever want to kind of just leave being a chef in the background and leave it in the past and just focus purely on the business side? Or is obviously being a chef one year?
You do, like the chefing thing, like, you know, I always say it, like I love cooking, but I love cooking at home, you know?
Yeah, not when you're stressed.
You get into work, there are days where, you know, you do enjoy it, and then there, you know, like any job, there are days where you're like, oh, Jesus, you have to do it, you know. No, definitely do want to step out, and, you know, and it has changed a lot since Mac first opened. You know, I was just in the kitchen for probably the first year, I'd say, and now stepping out to the floor and kind of driving the business rather than working for it, you know. But then, as I said, with staff and stuff, you know, they're coming and going, so you kind of have to dip back in and out, so pretty tough to stay fully out, I think, and drive it, but definitely down the road that would be the goal, you know, to not have to be in the kitchens as much and be as hands-on and kind of focus on driving the business rather than working for it, you know. Okay.
And one of the last questions I would have for you is, like, what you say would be, so say, for instance, if I'm an 18-year-old just coming out of school and I'm obsessed with food, I love cooking, I want to be a chef, Like, do you think there's a particular route that you'd say is the best way to go about it? Do you think going to these cooking courses would be the best way? Would it be just get experience as quick as you can? Or, like, what would your views of how to be the best possible chef be?
Well, I think now there's so many restaurants and there's such a high demand for chefs now, you know? Whereas back in the day, like, I have a job up online, I think, for a chef, and I say I've got 2 CVs in the last 3 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
So there's definitely a shortage out there. So I said back in the day, you would have need to be qualified. You might have had to do a course. You might have had to do college. You know, you would have had to have a lot of experience in restaurants. Where now places are taking on people for, you know, who might have just worked in a cafe, you know, and they're just like, we don't have anyone. You're hired.
Yeah.
So I suppose I would always say, now I know I didn't go to college, so I'm one to talk, but I think, you know, definitely do a cooking course of something, you know, learn the basics, I suppose. You know, I said I was lucky I had my dad's restaurant to go in and kind of in and out as I chose, you know.
Yeah.
But definitely get a base in college if possible, whether it's a Ballymaloe course or doing culinary arts. And then, but you have to give it all, you know. It's, you know, you have to have both feet in, I think, with becoming a chef and stuff and running a restaurant and owning a restaurant. It's pretty hands-on and it's full-on, you know. It's every night of the week, as I said, you know. There's no weekends closing. You're not finished at 5. You're open 7 days a week, like. So, you know, you have to be fully committed to it. But again, I think, yeah, I'd go down a course route probably. You know, just to get that little edge on people.
Yeah.
You know, it's all great saying, you know, I love cooking and can I get a job, and somebody might take you on and you might flourish, you know, but you might not as well. You know?
Yeah.
So just cover all bases, I'd say.
Okay. And last question before we get on to the quickfire questions. Like, what is your view of the future for yourself, for the 2 restaurants you're involved in? Like, do you want to expand to several different restaurants? Do you want to make the 2 restaurants you have the best they can possibly be? Or what's basically the future or the goals?
Definitely grow, you know. Have more is what I want, you know. I'm extremely driven to have more and more, you know. I'd never just settle on the 2, and I wouldn't be happy with just the 2, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I love both restaurants, but, you know, think I can do a lot more. Not just in restaurants, you know. It might be a bar or might be a cafe, whatever, but definitely that industry is what I'm keen on, you know, the service industry, food and wine, and yeah, I'd like another few, I think, before I'd settle, you know. And
you were saying there you wouldn't really mind on what type of restaurant it would be. It
No.
could be American, it could be, as you said, a cafe, it could be a bar.
Yeah, but that's why, you know, I've worked in other restaurants, you know, not just Chinese and stuff. So, you know, again, feel I'd be capable to open any restaurant, you know. And again, stem back to what I said earlier, you just have to believe in what you're doing and stuff, you know. And
Yeah.
and that's something I definitely do.
Super. Well, I wish you all the best with that. So,
Thank you.
to finish off, I always I'm a bit of a pest and I get quick fire questions out of people. So, first thing that pops into your head, just say it.
Yeah.
I won't judge you, I promise. I don't know if the listeners will or won't. So, yeah, I'll just get straight into it. So, who would your favourite chef be?
Ramsay.
Okay. Your favourite St. Michael's teacher?
Dave Wilson.
He's getting a lot of references. Like, I'm suspicious. I actually think he's paying at this stage. He's pretty much got a ratio of 1 in every 1 now.
He comes into the restaurant, so.
Yeah, okay. A night in or night out?
Night in.
And this is kind of, I had this written down, but I actually feel like a bit of a fraud now. So Gordon Ramsay or Jamie Oliver?
Ramsay.
Okay. And fried, scrambled or poached eggs? Which is your favourite? Poached. Favourite place to eat in Dublin apart from your own restaurants?
People always ask me that. They always say, what's your favourite restaurant? And
Yeah.
I always say Mac at D6, but bar those 2. Oh God, I don't know. I don't eat out, so no comment.
No comments. Politically correct answer there. What would your favourite film of all time be?
Favourite film? Favourite film? Good one. Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. Retro. Classic. And then second last one would be your favourite social media platform or app to use.
Instagram.
And last but not least, sum yourself up in 4 words.
Driven. Happy-go-lucky kind of guy. I know that's not one word. And I don't know. That's probably it. Just the two.
Just the
Driven
two.
and happy.
Perfect. Well, listen, Jules, honestly, thanks a million for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
I've enjoyed hearing about the past, and I wish you all the best in the future. And next time I am in Ranelagh, as much as Tom Gleeson will probably rip my head up for, I'll pop into Mac at D6, no doubt.
Love it.
Okay. Anyway, take care.
You too. Appreciate it.